All right, thanks. Quinn, can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's a fantastic session. Thanks for everybody for participating in the lightning session and sharing your work. The last part of our program today is a panel discussion on open source software, open data, and open computing. And we have some distinguished panelists, which I will let introduce themselves, but they're Tracy Teal, Carol Willing, and Achim Zeileis. And I'll let them introduce themselves. Here's the game plan. They're going to introduce themselves for about 2 or 3 minutes, talking about their employment history, their activities related to software and computing and whatnot. And then I have some pre-planned questions that I'm going to be asking. And then in the meantime, I want you guys to please be asking questions in the chat, and we'll open the floor up to you guys towards the end. So with that, then let's have Tracy introduce herself first. We'll go Carol and then Achim.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for having us. I'm super excited to be here. Yeah, so I'll just employment history. So my very current employment history is coaching my daughter's soccer team. So I am stepping away from that and weirdly in my car for this call, but very glad to be here. So I am the open source program director at Posit, which was formerly our studio. And prior to that, I was the executive director at Dryad, which is an open source data repository, and one of the co-founders of Data Carpentry and executive director at the Carpentries. And all of that sort of stemmed from when I was in academics, working in bioinformatics, and really seeing the importance of open source tools and education and resources around working effectively and reproducibly with data. So my career is kind of focused on kind of the people around the software, as well as some of the practices that sort of help. That's from me.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tracy.
Everyone, I am Carol Willing. Most recently, I was the VP of engineering for a startup called Noteable, which was based on a lot of work that I had done within the Jupyter ecosystem, and Interact, which was similar to Jupyter, but based with a React JavaScript front end. I serve as a core developer for Python and have also served for 3 terms on their steering council, which helps guide the direction of the language, including the inaugural steering council when we had a shift in governance. As well, I am a core developer on the Jupyter project. I am a polyglot in terms of what I love. I love R. I love Julia. In fact, Tom Sargent's Quant Econ site got me hooked on Julia back in like 2016, and went to JuliaCon in 2017 with Fernando Perez. And I have this philosophy that the problems that we have out in the world that need solutions really aren't limited to one language. There are places where you need Rust. There's places where you need Go or C++. And one of the things I loved was building the awareness of that earlier in this program. I think was really valuable. That said, what I am most interested in doing right now, I recently retired from the entrepreneurial world and am going back to my passion, which is empowering people to use open source software to do open science. I sit on the advisory board for Chan Zuckerberg's Open Science Initiative, Pi Open Sci. Some of you may know our Open Sci. Pi Open Sci is the sort of analogous organization for Python, and also QuantSci Labs board, and they are involved in spreading open source development within Python. So beyond that, was part of the Jupyter team that won the ACM award back in 2017, and all around geek and love to empower people to learn. That is my true passion. So it's been great to listen to things today. That's about it.
Thanks, Carol. Achim?
Hi, everyone. My name's Achim Zeileis. I'm a professor of statistics at the Universität Innsbruck in Austria. I studied statistics as an undergraduate student in the 90s in Dortmund, Germany. And back then I was told that, well, when you want to have a job as a statistician, you would have to do some coding in SAS. And so I took a course on that. Wasn't able to get my head around the workflow, the syntax and everything in SAS, struggled very much with it, and just thought, okay, if that's doing statistics with a computer, it's clearly not for me. So I didn't do that for a while. And it was then a couple of years later when a fellow student of mine, now my also co-editor at the Journal of Statistical Software, Thorsten Hotthorn, came down the corridor and said, okay, I've seen the future. It's called R, and that's what we're going to do. And we did. And so within a month or so, I switched from doing all the other statistical software things I used when I had to, switch to R, switch from Windows to Linux, from Word or whatever else I did to LaTeX. And from there, my life was a lot better. And so I pretty much got on this open source software and statistical computing train, and then did a PhD in that direction. And that's how history took its course, let's say. So I worked a lot on open source software, became at first a technical editor and eventually a co-editor-in-chief of the Journal of Statistical Software. And I'm quite active in the R community. I'm one of the co-founders of the Use R, our user conference, and co-maintainer of the CRAN task views and a couple of other things. When I'm doing research, I'm mostly interested in working on the intersection between classical statistical modeling and modern data-driven methods, and doing various projects in that direction.
Fantastic, thank you. So as you can see, we have a distinguished panel with people with lots of great life experience and perspectives. So again, please add questions to the chat that we will love to get to. But I have a few questions prepared that I'd like to ask our panelists. The first one, I think, is just asking you guys to be a bit of a prophet here and forecast the future, which I know is difficult. But could you talk about your perspectives on the frontiers of statistical computing? What do you think's next?
If I should go first here, or if I may go first here, so I think predicting what exactly happens next, or what will be the next big thing, is really really hard to do, because so what we've seen over the last years, that a lot of innovations coming from the ongoing digitalization of our entire society, of our entire world, brought us new challenges, and these will also shape what we're doing in statistical computing and adjacent areas. What I think much more about when I think about challenges is not what exactly we will tackle, but how we will tackle it, and finding the right balance of embracing new challenges, embracing new tools, but also not forgetting what we already did and what we're good at, and sort of bringing these things together, moving forward. And I think, and from the questions you sent to us before, I guess we will talk more about that in the rest of the discussion. The way how we interact with our community, with our users, how we communicate and how we collaborate. That will be an important topic, and will shape a lot what we do and how we do it.
Fantastic. And I should say, by the way, panelists, you're not required to answer every question, but if you'd like to jump in, we certainly would love to have you speak. Yes, Carol.
I'll jump in, and I'm not a statistician by training, so bear with me on that one. But one of the things that I have seen over the last decade is the increased growth and scale of data, as well as much more streaming data at like the size of a Netflix or supercomputer center. And that poses unique challenges, because where one could often have a whole data set on their computer, data is being more and more distributed, and that is bringing up interesting challenges in terms of discoverability, reproducibility, and just the tooling to deal with that on a less technical, more humanitarian view. That critical thinking and some of the bias that David mentioned in his lightning talk, I think, is something that I'm hoping the statistics world will really help promote fairness and making sure that we're not doing harm with some of the data and the